Hi, it's Jason from Let's Automate, and in this episode we're going to look at how we can extract information from LinkedIn contacts and use Zapier to then import that into Google Sheets and also into Airtable, and then at the end of that send a Slack message. So if that's something of use to you, then stay tuned and we'll jump straight in. Okay, we're going to start the process in Phantom Buster. So Phantom Buster is a web service you can use to extract information from social media networks, so LinkedIn example. So we have one called LinkedIn Contacts Extractor. So what this does is it runs once a day, and it extracts anyone who's contacted me on LinkedIn, who's made a connection on LinkedIn, should I say. So it runs once a day, and it takes the information and it stores it into two files here, CSV file and a JSON file. So what we can do then is we can use Zapier to listen for the information changing in that file and create a zap. So we have a zap here. So it's a 5-step zap. What it basically does is takes the information from Phantom Buster. It creates a row in a spreadsheet. It formats the date and time, creates a record in Airtable, and then sends a message in Slack to say that it's all been completed. So those that know Zapier know that you can use lots of different ways to trigger. So you can trigger on a schedule, or you can trigger when something happens in an application. But also, a lot of people don't know, you can use Zapier webhook. So what Zapier webhook does is, if you have a service that's not available in Zapier, a web service, then you can use this to look for changes in that service and then pull the information. So in this case, we have Phantom Buster writing information to these files here. So what we can do, we can tell Zapier to look at those files, and when there's a change, pull the information in. So we're using the webhook by Zapier, and the trigger we're using is the retrieve poll. And then it's going to ask us for the URL. So where is the information that's changing that we want to keep an eye on? So if we go back to Phantom Buster, we can right click on this file here, and we can say copy link address, and then we can just paste it into here. So it's just going to look for this file here. The only other thing we have to do is tell Zapier what is unique in the data, so it knows which rows are unique. So we can't use the name in LinkedIn because the name is never unique, but the profile URL is always unique. So the information we're pulling in, we tell it every time you see a profile URL, that's a unique line, that's a new line. So that's all we need. We can continue. And also a good way of checking once you do these, every step of the way you can just choose to pull samples, and it will pull information from there. So in here we have one that we pulled 42 minutes ago. So this has got information that it's pulling from. So now we've got that working, we need to create a spreadsheet, a row in a spreadsheet. So we have a spreadsheet here that we have on my drive. So we're going to use Google Sheets. The action is to create spreadsheet row. We're going to use an account. And then in here, we're going to tell it to use the spreadsheet called LinkedIn Accepted Contacts Export. And we're going to tell it to use PB Export, which is the sheet down here. It's then going to ask us what information, where we're getting the information to populate these columns. So we're going to pull it all from this step here. Okay, so it's just a case of clicking on here and pulling the information that matches the spreadsheet. Okay, so we've got last name, title, we've got all the information we need, connected date and timestamp. So if we go to send data now, we can test this step. So if we click on here and quickly go to here, we see that populate into here. So we know that we're pulling data now from step 2. We can complete that. So we have this one complete and this one complete. And now we're going to do something. So if we look at the data that's coming into here, the date and timestamp is month, day, year, and then the time. Well, when I put this into Airtable, I'm not interested in that kind of format. I want it in the UK format. So I'm going to use something called the formatter by Zapier. So if you have data that you're pulling in that you need to change, then you can use a formatter by Zapier. And you can use that for numbers, text, and different things, but we're interested in date and time. So if we go to customize date and time, so all we're doing is saying, take this value from the spreadsheet that you're getting in this format and change it to date, month, year format and drop the date. So that's all we need to do in there. So if we click send data, we test and review, we can run that. It's going to take that date format and it's going to give us that back here. So that's all we need to do for now. We have that in step 3. We have the right date and time format that we need. So then we're going to create a record in Airtable. So Airtable is an online database, and if you haven't used it, then you should check it out. It's really useful, very powerful. You can do lots with it. So when I'm taking data like this, I like to put it into a spreadsheet so I can do analysis on it, but I also like to store it in Airtable so I can use for later. So we're just going to connect Airtable, create a record. We're going to write to this database and to this table. So here's our database, here's our table, and then we're going to populate the fields in here as we did with the spreadsheet. So we have a few different places to pull the information from now. We can pull the information straight from the step 1, or we can pull it from the spreadsheet that we're populating, or in this instance we can pull the date and time stamp from step 3 where we formatted the date and time. So we could pull it from the spreadsheet, but we're going to pull it from here because we've already formatted that how we want it. Okay, so we have all that information and we can continue, and again we can test that. So if we press review, retest and review, and we pop over here, there we have the record now in Airtable, so we can use that. So that's all good, that's all working, and we just have one last step. So this is just a notification really to let me know that something has been done. So you can use email, Slack, you could use text message if you wanted to. So it's just a way of telling you every day that this has run and run okay without problems. So Slack is very useful. So we're going to use Slack. We're going to send a direct message. We're going to choose an account, and then we're going to customize the message. So we're going to send it to me, and we're going to have a text message that I've typed out telling us who's been added. So we're just going to type that out basically, and then we just pull some information to put the name in. And the only other thing we just got in here, just for show really, we're going to put the image file in so that we can see the person that came through. You can do lots of other things in there, but that's all we need for now. So send data. So now we're going to send the message, and you'll see pop up here. So we have the information in Slack. It's basically just a way of notifying me that that's been done. So we can complete that. So we've got it all in there. So we're retrieving the information from Phantom Buster, creating a spreadsheet row, formatting the time, putting that into Airtable, and sending a message on completion. So then we just need to make sure that that's switched on, so it's going to run automatically. And that's the process. So yeah, if you're familiar with Zapier, you might not be familiar with some of the Zapier components. So there's quite a few different Zapier components you can use that are really good. So webhooks is one of them, the format is another, and there's quite a few more. So you should check them out. And that's it, a very powerful tool, lots you can do with it. We'll probably do some more tutorials on Zapier. So if it's something you want to understand more about, then let me know and I'll be happy to help. Also, if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. So, okay, it's great. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.